Well, the war has entered a new stage in recent weeks as dozens of tanks were pledged by European allies to aid in Ukraine's defense, with some already on their way. Leading the charge in that effort is Poland, which in late January stressed that even if other countries did not want to send tanks, Poland would. Joining us now, Polish Chief of Defense General Ray Andrzejczak, and it is really good to have you on board. Poland has stepped up immediately with no debate in so many ways. Tell us about your visit here and your message to America and other partnering nations in aid of Ukraine.
Oh, very good morning.
Morning.
Ukraine is absolutely extremely important for Poland. It's extremely important for region with global implications. So for the very first day, we started our support in many domains, starting from a human approach, absorbing 8 million Ukrainians crossing the border, a few million still staying in Poland. Then we started, social programs, medical programs, education for them. And immediately we started preparation and sending equipment, ammunition, and anything they need for victory.
For victory.
General, since the war began, Poland, the center of gravity of NATO and of the EU, seems to have moved east and to Poland. Basically, I mean, Poland is an increasingly, incredibly important country. Now, how is that going down in Poland? How are Poles reacting to their new central place in Europe?
Well, you can feel every single day that the center of gravity from a historical Cold War time design moved from Germany to Poland, to Warsaw. And geostrategy matters, and also geography matters, and our aspirations of the Western civilization as well. So nothing happened without the Poland. We're investing heavily in the security from the very beginning, 3% GDP, and we have an entire list of very important modernization programs. Most of the high-tech equipment comes from U.S. fifth-generation airplane. The HIMARS is very famous. We see, effectiveness. M1 tanks as well, the most modern combat platforms, and variety of different programs. And we're gonna do more. But the first is just to win Ukraine, because Ukraine matters. Ukraine is basic platform for security. 100 years ago, Marshal Piłsudski, he said, "Free Ukraine, free Poland." It's direct connection, direct relations, and that's after 100 years still valid.
So, General, we're about 2 weeks away from the one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion. Obviously, it has not gone the way Vladimir Putin thought it would go. But I'm curious for your assessment as someone who studies and understands war, and specifically this war, where things stand and where you think they're going into the second year.
Very difficult question, because mostly it goes to the politics, to economy. So we need Ukraine winning in the political domain, in the economical domain. They need money, they need the resources, they need effective sanctions, and of course, one of the conditions will be the military operation, which is critical. But the situation is still very dangerous, very important, dramatic from a moral point of view, but it's definitely decisive. What we do today equals to eternity. If we not do, it goes as well. So now or never.
Elizabeth? So what Vladimir Putin seems willing to accept massive Russian casualties. We think back to the Second World War particularly. How long is this indefinite for him? Is he willing to stretch this out for
very important
years?
Yeah, I give you a very much Polish flavor perspective. We live in the space 1,000 years ago. So we know the Russians. That's the way they find it. This is no surprise for us. The standards for Russian army, for Russian society is completely different than the Western matrix. So do not compare Russians using Western standards. What you see, behaving, performance, how much they're suffering and still are ready to go is absolutely different than the Western society. So please do not, assess Russians in our standards, because they're completely different.
Let's talk about, first of all, I just want to follow what Gene said about it's remarkable that Poland now finds itself where West Germany was from 1945 to 1989. You guys are on the front lines of freedom. And As such, I thought it was fascinating. A couple weeks ago, you pushed the Germans to move with tanks. The Germans then pushed the Americans, saying, we'll do it, but you all have to do it as well. And so Poland was a real leader there. I'm curious, what difference do you think that's going to make over the next year? And what else do the Ukrainians need that they don't have right now?
Sir, from the very beginning, our willingness to send equipment was absolutely critical. So I got a very clear message from my political masters to send as much as we can and as much as they need. So there was no dozens, hundreds of equipment is going to Ukraine. And of course, from many operational reasons or military reasons, Ukraine needs to change to the Western platforms because ammunition and because they're much better. So Poland, from the very beginning, started to promote idea to build a multinational component, and we offering a platform for training, for integration, for the new tanks. So that was the reason. Because we are frontline, we would like to motivate and inspire anybody. So we just offer a platform, but waiting for some additional, supplies.
Well, one other quick question. We always talk about weapons, but let's talk about training. 2014 was a disastrous military campaign for the Ukrainians. After that, they started training with NATO. They started training with Poles. They started training with Americans. Talk about the difference of how the Ukrainians are now fighting, and we have NCOs that go out, can make decisions on the move. The difference between having a bottom-up approach in warfare and the Russian top-down approach. How big of a difference has that training made over the past year?
It was absolutely huge difference. And I think one of the critical factors that the Ukrainian army is so effective is a change in philosophy of leadership. So mission command, given authority very much down, which is much more Western-oriented. The Russians, they're going, still in a very vertical, decision-making process, waiting for permission, and it doesn't work. So that kind of change in investing in the NCO core as well is absolutely crucial. So the human factor matters.
Well, the story of Poland really being a central player on the world stage is happening right now, and Poland really stepped up.
Your father would be proud.
He would be so proud, taking in millions of people and stepping up in the fight with 100% resolve. I would say I'm proud to be a Polish American. Really, really incredible story. Polish Chief of Defense, General Ray and Jacek, thank you very much for being with us.
Did you say your name right?
Absolutely. Perfect pronunciation.
Okay.
That would be proud.
Dziękuję bardzo. Okay, coming up.